So to explain the concepts of animation, I'm going to be using three ideas. And the first one's going to be a timeline. Now a timeline is a way to keep time, and in real life we'd probably use years, seconds, hours, days, minutes, something along those lines. But in this case we're going to be using what's called frames. Now think of a frame as kind of taking a picture or saving a moment in time. So when you take a picture of an apple, you've saved essentially the location of that apple at a certain time. The same principle applies to the timeline in animation. Let's say we have a square. Now I'm going to put this square on the left side of the screen, and I'm going to put my timeline to frame 0. And then I'm going to add what's called a keyframe. Now a keyframe is like taking a photo. I just took a photo of the square at position A. Now I'm going to move over to frame 20 on my timeline, and I'm going to add another keyframe. So essentially I'm saving the square from position A at frame 0 and the square from position B at frame 20. Now keep in mind that the same square, I'm just saving the position of the square at different times on the timeline. So at frame 0, the square is at point A, and at frame 20, the square is at point B. But how do I know how fast my timeline is going to be moving? This is where we use FPS, or frames per second. Now in this case, I'm going to be using 20 frames per second. So every 20 frames of my timeline is equal to 1 second in real life. So in this case, we have the square move over from 0 to frame 20, which means the square is moving exactly 1 second from point A to point B. Alrighty, real quick side note. So I'm going to show you how to get software for 3D applications. And so you're going to want to go to your search bar here and search up Autodesk Student Access. And what this is going to bring you to is going to bring you the Adobe Education and Student Access page. And essentially you're just going to have this big page full of, I think, 45 products that you can download if you sign up for it. So the way to sign up for it is you go ahead and hit Get Started, and then you create an account, and you'll want all the information to be correct because it is going to check to see if you are an active student. And if you are and everything checks out, then you'll gain access to all these applications for free for about a year until you have to renew your student status. Now the other way is free and open source. It's called Blender. That's the application I'm using, and that's the application I'm going to be showing in my next example. It's free, like I said earlier, it's free, open source, and it does a lot more than just 3D animation. You can get into modeling, shading, texturing, pretty much anything a 3D application could go through, Blender can do. So I just want to put those out there real quick, and now back to some more examples. I'm going to do an extremely fast-paced explanation of what's going on screen. So currently I'm trying to animate a basic animation that I'll allow you guys to download in this YouTube video. And right now I'm just making a cube fall and hit the floor, and right now I'm just messing with the speed at which the cube hits the floor. I'm going to fast forward and cut a little bit throughout this thing so it goes by faster. So here we can see it's just me tweaking the speed. I'm going to add a little kind of bounce and shuffle to the right towards the end. You'll see what I'm talking about. But right now you can see I'm kind of just trying to figure out how I want the cube to move. And that's a lot of the animation process, is understanding how an object would move in this situation. So the cube is going to have an uneven weight, so it's not going to perfectly fall and hit the floor at perfect angle. So it's going to be slightly off, and you'll see in the finished product what I'm talking about. So right now I'm just going through, slowly tweaking it. Right now it looks a little weird because it's hitting the floor, and it kind of looks like it jumps up to the right rather than bouncing. And then here will be the finished product. This is what the finished product will look like. And so here I make my final adjustment, and that is what the quick animation looks like by the end of it. Now this project file I will have for download in the description of this YouTube video, so if you want to, you can download it and mess around with the cube and do whatever you want. I will also have another project file, which is a quick running animation I made of this character that I created. So it's fully rigged, which is what those little bones are. And I completely made the model, the rig. It's completely free to use if you want to. Project file is also going to be in the description. It's kind of just an example for you to mess around with if you want to. So if you're interested, you can just go ahead, download it, and mess around with it.